appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I don't, I hope that the remarks that I share with you will be of some value. I want to take you through my entrepreneurial journey. Because of nervousness, I have to walk around. So if you see me walking around, know that I am, my knees are shaking. So, but it's a great privilege to be here. Before I start, what I'd like to do is actually, okay, it worked for you, but it's not working for me. Why? I told you I had the Midas touch.
Oh, I don't know. I'll try some other buttons.
Well, let's try it this way with the old-fashioned way here. What I'd like you to do is, if you would be, to start off with, if you take a piece of paper out, we're going to do a quiz. This is a quiz, obviously, you can answer. But there's 3 questions I'd like to ask you, and I'd love to have you just put your answers on those pieces of paper. If you don't want to, that's up to you. But I really would like to have you think a little bit about not only this lecture series, but perhaps some of the things that you hope to get out of it. What have you received out of this lecture series? And the third question is there a question that you would like to have answered today? And the reason I'd like to have that, and as you go through this lecture, if you could put down if you have a question. Obviously, I hope to have a little bit of question and answer time before the period ends, but obviously, as you know, there is a period afterwards for about 30 minutes that you could sit, and I'd love to sit and visit with you. So if you have a question. So think about what you got out of this, and it has application later on in my lecture. I want to talk about my entrepreneurial venture and the experiences that I've had throughout my life and my business life since I left BYU in 1981. So it's been 30 years since I was a student here at the graduating from the MBA program. This thing don't like me. It don't like me. My definition of an entrepreneurial adventure is a difficult endeavor in which the outcome is unknown, but the possibility of a great reward exists. And it can be a remarkable journey. For me, the last 30 years has truly fit this definition. We have engaged many times in businesses in which we had no clue what the outcome was going to be, but we did know that there was a possibility of great rewards, and it has been an incredible journey. My adventure has taken me into the realms of real estate, technology, financial services, and education. Over the past 25 years, I've had the opportunity with my partners to start over a dozen companies. Some of these companies have been very successful, and we've sold those companies and made a good reward. Some of the companies we've had continue to have some success today. We have some companies that are growing, and unfortunately, we've also had some companies that didn't do as well as we had liked them to do. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about the things that I've learned by starting and running these companies and some of the successes and failures that I've enjoyed. The failures I've enjoyed almost as much as the successes because they've taught me lessons. I want to share a story with you that hopefully will illustrate a little bit about what I want to talk about. But there was a man who moved into a new community, and as he moved in and was beginning to unpack the stuff out of the van, he pulled out a bass boat and a bunch of fishing gear. And one of the neighbors saw him pulling out the bass boat and the fishing gear and said, "Wow, this is really great. Our new neighbor's a fisherman, and we love to fish." And so he went and told his best buddy, who was also a fisherman. They said, "Let's go invite him to go fishing with us next week." And so they went over, welcomed their new neighbor to the neighborhood, said, "We noticed that you had a bass boat and some fishing gear, and would you like to go fishing with us next Saturday?" And so he was excited about the opportunity to get to meet his new neighbors. So the next Saturday, found as the sun went up over the mountain's top, these guys were in the middle of the lake, and after they had caught several fish before the sun had risen, one of the neighbors looked at the other and said, "You know, I'm kind of hungry. I think I want to get something to eat." So he jumps out of the boat, runs across the top of the water towards the marina. A few minutes later, he appears again, coming from the marina, running across the top of the water, gets in the boat, opens the sack up, pulls out an egg sandwich and an orange juice, and begins to eat and drink his orange juice. The other neighbor looks at him and says, "You know, that looks awful good. I think I want one too. He jumps out of the boat, runs across the top of the water to the marina. As soon as he comes back, gets in the boat, pulls out his egg sandwich and orange juice and begins to eat and drink. The new neighbor looks at the one, and he looks at the other. He says, if they can do it, I can do it. And so he jumps out of the boat and immediately goes to the bottom of the lake. As he breaks the surface of the water, he hears one of the neighbors say to the other, do you think we ought to tell him where the rocks are? Now that story is illustrative of what I hope to do. I have been over that water, and I know where a few of those rocks are. And that's what I'd like to share with you, is really some of the rocks that I've learned, so that hopefully, as you start businesses or go into your careers, that those rocks will help you get a jump start in some things that I wish I'd have learned a lot earlier. And so that's kind of what my talk is really going to be about, incorporating some of the stories that I've had as part of that. The first rock that I want to talk about today is a willingness to learn and change. I grew up, as Spencer mentioned, I grew up in South Texas in the Rio Grande Valley. Is there anybody here who knows where the Rio Grande Valley is? Why do you know about the Rio Grande Valley?
I served a mission there.
In the Rio Grande Valley, your mission was McAllen? Great. So did you ever serve in Rio Hondo? Harlingen?
Yes.
Okay. Nearby Harlingen, okay. I grew up, Rio Hondo is about 10 miles east of Harlingen. It's a small farming community. You know, farming and agriculture is probably the main business down there, right? It's a very poor area, correct? And I grew up as a farmer. And when as you do our genealogy, the farthest back I can go in my history is to 1970, my great-great-grandfather, John Carpenter, who lived in the Finger Lakes area of New York. And he was a farmer. My great-great-grandfather moved to Minnesota, and he was a farmer. My great-grandfather moved to South Dakota and then eventually to South Texas in 1916, and he was a farmer. My granddad was a farmer, and my dad was a farmer. I grew up in a farming community. Guess what? 90% of my friends became farmers, okay? What do you think I was going to become? A farmer, okay? That was what my environment was all about. I grew up, my family, my history, the environment I was in was a farmer. And that's all I knew. And but there were 3 events over the next several years. When I left Rio Hondo at the age of 18, there were 3 events that shaped my life. I want to share those 3 events to begin with. The first event was a mission. I served a mission in the Kentucky-Tennessee mission, and I finished in the Nashville, Tennessee mission. And my mission president, in my exit interview for the mission, he pulled me in. He says, Elder Carpenter, what are you going to do now? And I said, well, I'm going to go to school and get a degree in business. He said, wow, that's great. That's fantastic. What kind of degree? I said, well, a bachelor's degree. And he said, is that all? And I said, what do you mean that's all? I was pretty proud of myself. I was the first carpenter going to get a degree in college. I thought I was doing really well. He says, the Lord got a lot of people who can get bachelor's degrees, but you're better than that. You need to get a graduate degree. You need to go on, get an MBA, or go get a doctorate degree, but you need to do better. And then he said, where are you going to go to school? And I said, well, Pan American University. Why Pan American University? I said, well, because it's right there in the area that I live. He says, you're going to BYU. You need to go to BYU. There's experiences that you will have there. One thing you're going to learn, I'm an emotional person. There are experiences that you'll have there that you'll have nowhere else in the world. You need to go to BYU and get a graduate degree. End of interview. He planted in my mind, some seeds that had not been there before. I hadn't even thought about that. I thought getting my bachelor's degree and being a farmer was a pretty good deal, living in South Texas. But all of a sudden, he changed the focus. He said, you need to go get a graduate degree and go to BYU and have experiences. The second experience I had was at BYU. I had the opportunity to come into this business program and to be taught at the feet of some great professors. And those people gave me and expanded my vision and caused me to change. They caused me to learn about things I had never even thought about. They forced me to expand my mind and to change that vision. I will be forever grateful to those professors and that mission president because they took me out of an environment and changed the course of my life and the life of my family. one of my favorite sayings is one by George Bernard Shaw. Could you read that, please?
Some men see things as they are and ask why. I see things as they may become and say, why not?
Why do you think that would be important in learning and changing?
Oh, me? What was the question?
Why do you think that saying would be important to wanting to learn and to change?
Because you need to think outside the box. You can't just be on your set path.
Absolutely. And many times we look at situations we find ourselves in and ask why. George Bernard Shaw's statement said, why not? Think of things that you can become and you can learn and say, why not? Why can't I do that? And that's become one of my favorite sayings because of the opportunities. A second issue that I found as part of that learning and changing rock has been the ability to focus on looking into the mirror. The reason I like looking into the mirror is because I've learned over my life that there is few things that I can control. One of those things I can control are my thoughts, my attitude, and my actions. But outside of that, there's not a lot I can control. But I need to do my very, very best in controlling those three things. And so as you look at, as George Bernard Shaw says, as you look outward instead of inward, as you look at the why, you cannot succeed. But as you look at the why not, you begin to see opportunities of growth. And you control that thought process. And then oops, I hit the wrong button here, sorry. And then the final thing that I'd like to put upon this is a saying that was decorated. I don't know what you have in your house as you leave the front door, but in our house it was a serenity prayer that my mother put there. And could I have you read that serenity prayer?
God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
This is absolute incredible information. Okay? As you look at your life, you're going to face challenges and you're going to have opportunities to grow. But as those challenges come, there are things that you cannot change. Don't worry about it. And the courage to change the things that you can and the wisdom to know the difference. The second rock that I'd like to share with you is a rock of having visions and goals. I told you that of two of the three events that have impacted my life. The third event, Spencer actually alluded to it when he was talking. When I came here to BYU, it was a great growing experience. At that time, the National Advisory Council, which is a group of business leaders across the country who have been recruited by the dean of the School of Management to come and give advice and counsel and work with the students, was being formed. And when I came here, if you turn around in the very back, there are 12 pictures back there. There are 13 pictures, excuse me. Those are the men who have served as the chairman of that National Advisory Council. When I came here, Stephen White, who's the third one, and the left-hand picture, he's the third one on the right of the top, was the chairman of that group. I got to be a very good friend of his. In addition, they had the International Executive of the Year Award, where they honor an executive for his outstanding work in his professional life. In addition, they had the Executive Lecture Series. Do they still have the Executive Lecture Series? Okay. And that was kind of the precursor of all these lecture series where they had people come in. My job as a student was to be the student host to every single executive and government official who came on this campus. I got to assist them and go around and take them to all their classes and listen to them. It was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. It changed my view from being a farmer to the idea that I could actually be the chief executive officer of a Fortune 500 company and I could walk the streets of Wall Street. Because these men took an interest in me and wanted to share with me that my vision didn't need to be this, it could be whatever I wanted it to be. And so if I can leave you with one thought, create a vision. Create a vision of what you really can be and can do. And then you need to set goals. One of the things I've done in my life to help me set those goals, before I do that, I know what I want to tell you about. One of my favorite stories is a one that you tell kids. It's called Alice in Wonderland. Many of you know the story. Alice in Wonderland's at the crossroads of her existence at the point, and she meets the Cheshire Cat. And so sitting there with the Cheshire Cat, she has a conversation with the Cheshire Cat. She says, "Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?" The cat answers, "That depends a good deal on where you want to get to." Alice begins, "I don't care where," and she's cut off by the cat, who says, "Then it doesn't matter which way you go." "Well, so long as I get somewhere." And the cat answers by saying, "Oh, you're sure to do that if you only walk long enough." In my life, I have had many times where I have faced the crossroads in my life. It may be selling a business and trying to figure out what's the next business I do. It may be a decision I need to make in my personal life. Many of you have those decisions, those crossroads that you're at right now, trying to determine, should I go into this major or that major? Perhaps it's to go on a mission or not go on a mission. Perhaps it's to get married, not get married. Which job do I take? I've got several opportunities. What do I study? There are all kinds of questions that you have. When you get to that crossroads, and in my life, I have found the question that I always ask, what should I do, Spencer? Okay? And I get to ask that question many times by students. Well, what should I do? Well, I've been fortunate in my life that when I've asked that question, people have been more like the Cheshire Cat. And they've said, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to become? And rather than giving me their advice and their opinion, the people that I value the most are the people who help me to see in my mind what I want to become, so that I can create that vision and goal, because it's my vision and my goal, not theirs. So if you'll please think about the Cheshire Cat. And as you face challenges in your life, figure out, first of all, what is it you want to do? To help me in my life, I put together what I call my Entrepreneur's Guide. I did this several years ago when I was actually in graduate school, and to help me. And there are two questions that I asked myself as I was looking at opportunities. One was, what are the things I like to do? What are the things I want to do? What is it's my passion? What if I'm excited about? And the second question, what are the things that I'm good at doing? And then I took those answers and I put them in a matrix. I thought I put it in a matrix. I'm going the wrong way here. I do invest in... Why am I going backwards here? What have I done here? I apologize. Am I going to need to use that? There we go. Okay. I put it into an entrepreneurial matrix. At the top, you'll notice what am I good at and what I'm not good at. And on the left-hand side, I have what I enjoy or want to do, and those are the things that I don't enjoy or I don't want to do. And as I began to put these characteristics of jobs or opportunities or decisions that I have to make on that matrix, it's easy to see that the right-hand lower box is something you probably don't want to do. If you don't enjoy it or don't want to do it and you're not good at it, you stay away from it. That's an easy one. What each of us really want to do in life is to be in the upper left-hand box. We want to be able to do those things that we're good at and we like to do. However, you're going to find probably at the beginning of your careers that you're going to be in neither the bottom right hand or the upper left hand. You're going to be in the other two boxes. You're going to be put into things that you perhaps enjoy and really like to do because that's the decision you made, but you're not very good at it. Or you're going to be put into situations that you really don't like or want that much, but you're really good at it. As I've looked at my life, I found that you want to stay in this box, these two boxes here. I found that when I've ventured over into the things that I'm not good at, I tend to not succeed very well. Or into things that I don't know anything about, I don't do very well in it. And so as you look at your career, as you look at the opportunities that are facing, as you look at that crossroads that you're at, like Alice was, I found in my life that this was a great way for me to decide what it is that really fit into what I wanted to become and how I could set my goals to become that. My mom had another saying, and that she used to preach to me all the time. My mom was the original entrepreneur. My mom in Rio Hondo, Texas. This is a town of 1,100 people, and my mom used to say, "Plan your work and work your plan." My mom, by the time I was 18 years old, from the time I can remember, which was probably about 8 years old or 7 years old, my mom started 4 secondhand furniture and clothing stores, 2 laundromats, 2 camping areas for trailers, a car wash, 3 restaurants. I think that's all. Oh, she did an auction too. All within about 10 years, okay? She was my original entrepreneur. I said, how do you, after years later, I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was. And I said, how did you do this, Mom? I mean, you're in Rio Hondo, Texas. It's not exactly like you had a lot of money. She says, son, I planned my work and then worked my plan. And as I graduated from BYU, because I had changed my vision to become I came out of BYU in 1981 with a vision that I could actually someday be the CEO and president of a Fortune 500 company. I recognized that when I walked out of school, I probably wouldn't have that position waiting for me. I realized that there was not a company that was going to hire me in that position. So I had to figure out a plan, how I become that CFO or the CEO. And the plan was, I looked at the different avenues that you can become a CEO from, where what fit me best in that matrix model, that entrepreneurial matrix model. What I was good at and what I liked to do was financial activities. So the stepping stone that would get me to the CEO position was Chief Financial Officer. Okay, I also recognized that probably nobody's going to hire me as a Chief Financial Officer either. And so I had to step back and figure out how could I become the Chief Financial Officer and what opportunities lie ahead of me as I came out of school. And to become the Chief Financial Officer there, I identified 3 areas that fit within my entrepreneurial matrix. The first one was an accounting. I could go into an accounting firm and work there to become a partner and then have the opportunity to step up into the CFO position. The second one was banks, is to find a bank that I could go to work with in their treasury and management functions and eventually become a CFO. And the third avenue was go to work for a corporate finance group. And so with that plan, I began to work it. I then applied to every accounting firm, banks, the largest banks in America, and all the major corporations that I had some contact with through the NAC or through another individual that was a graduate of BYU. And I actually generated almost 16 offers through that plan. And I eventually determined to go through the corporate finance route. And I went to work for a company in San Francisco called Bechtel. Bechtel was one of the largest, is one of the largest engineering and construction companies in the world. They're also private. And so it was a great opportunity to learn in an environment that I felt comfortable with. The third rock that I'd like to talk about is commitment, and is being committed to success. The reason I feel strongly about that, and I'm going to share this experience, and I can probably do this here at BYU that I can't do anywhere else, is Doctrine and Covenants, Section 4. I love Section 4. Section 4 deals with not only great spiritual guidelines in your personal life or in your ecclesiastical responsibilities, but I find it also serves the same guidelines for your entrepreneurial experiences. I'm going to change the verses just a little bit, but you'll get the purpose here. In order to be called to the work, all that's needed was to have desire. If you have desires, you're called to the work. I have found in my life that wishing does not work. Desires, just wanting to be something, does not work. The desire that the Lord expects and the desire that to be successful in business is a passion, almost to the point of just absolutely being, what's the term? Insane. I guess that wasn't the term, but it's pretty close to it. What's that? Obsessed. That's the term. Absolutely obsessed. Okay? Because if you want to succeed, you need to be able to have a strong desire. The second aspect that the Lord talks about is how to qualify for that work. To qualify that work, he says, in faith, hope, charity, and love, with an eye single to the glory of God, qualify for the work. Those are heavenly virtues. What are the virtues that you learn for professional purposes? And where do you learn them? Very easy question. Right here. You all are here at BYU, and you're learning those same qualities, but on a professional basis. What are the things you need to do to qualify you for the work? For whatever work you want to do. With the passion now, and with the qualifications that you now have, the next step that you have to have is a commitment issue. Oh, you that embark in the service of God, see that you serve Him with all your heart, might, mind, and strength. Heart is an emotional aspect. Might is a spiritual aspect. Mind is an intellectual aspect. Strength is a physical aspect. If you take and into your entrepreneurial activity or your career or your business or whatever decision you make, all your emotional effort, spiritual effort, physical effort, and intellectual effort, do you think you can succeed? Absolutely. And so as you take the desire and you add it to it, the things that you learn at this university on internships and in experiences with those individuals that you admire and look up to, and then apply a commitment to success that involves everything you can do, you have a much better chance of success. And in fact, I can almost promise you, you will have success. And there's a reason why that I'll talk about in just a second. And then the last thing I want to talk about on a commitment basis is something that I have found, unfortunately, all to be too true. There are people out there who have given up on their desires that will try to destroy yours. I was at my 10th year anniversary, or 10th year reunion of my high school class. I had now graduated from BYU with a master's degree. I'd served a mission in Tennessee. I was now working in San Francisco for the largest private engineering company in America. And I went back home to Rio Hondo, Texas. And what was everybody else? Farmers. Now, I don't have any problem with farmers, honestly, because they're all my relatives. But they were farmers. They looked at me, and what did they see in me? Those things that they wish they could have done. And when we talked about what my dreams and aspirations, and everybody was talking about everything as you do in a reunion and getting together with people, what do you think they told me? Fred, you're from South Texas. How are you ever going to get along in San Francisco? I mean, that's a place that's kind of got some crazy people. You know, business, Fred? What do you know about business? And, you know, it just was one thing after another. It was like, whoa, dude, be happy for me. But that wasn't the aspect. It was a very much of a downer, an experience that I felt very bad for them. I felt, and as I've gone back, I've had to kind of change my persona a little bit to be able to make them feel good about the things that they've done in their lives. I told you about my learning, the rock that had to do with learning, and about my plan to succeed. And finally, life isn't about the destination as Alice thought it was. Alice said, as long as I go somewhere, it's not about the destination. It's about the journey. And in my case, I believe it's about enjoying the journey. You all are very special people. You get the opportunity to attend a university that is unique as any university in the country, where not only do you have incredible academic training, but you're able to underlie that with a spiritual basis that nowhere else is found nowhere else in the country. It's the most amazing thing is, and then on top of that, you are students that are the brightest of the bright. You are students who are passionate about what you want to do. You have goals and desires in life. And I know that the Lord knows who you are. I know that He wants to bless you. There are many times that you may not think that's true because of the Gethsemanes that you may be going through and the crossroads that you face. But I know He knows who you are, and He wants to bless you and put you in a position so that you can have joy and rejoicing in this life and in the life to come. You are destined to become leaders, not only in the kingdom, but professionally. I cannot wait and look forward to hearing about and seeing your faces, even though I may not recognize any of you, on the faces of Forbes, in magazines, touting the great successes that you have. You are truly some of the best. I appreciate the opportunity I've had to share some of those rocks that have meant so much to me, and hope that they can be of value to you. And I wish you the best of success and look forward to following your careers. Thank you.